Says we are live. Let's check it out. Salute to the mighty LDBC. Much love to the chat. Those of y'all that's in the building early. Smash the like button as you come on in. Smash the like button as you come on in. We're going to talk a little boxing in the AM. Share the video and spread the word to the ends of the earth. 78 Sports TV is live, you dig? Yes, indeed, man. All right, we're going to do some cooking. Man. We're going to have a special guest on today. A little later, special guest. Talk about Errol Spence and his, just kind of a response to the alleged doctor that put out some information. So we're going to have a authentic doctor come on. Somebody who I know is a doctor. And we're going to have them talk and see what their opinion is. Maybe they agree, maybe they disagree. I haven't spoken to them about what they feel, but we're going to find out. Let me scroll up, see who we got in the building thus far. TY Boxing in the building. Jalen Hudson. Slip the jab. Y'all must have forgot Young Mustafa up in here. Let me see here. King Strick. Anwar Willis. Felix Nunez. The Architect One is in the building. Carter Face Stiller. John Clayton Perry. West up in here. Avery Vice. David Jackson. Cano Loco Sports. What they do, Cano? Chris Ruffin. Gravy Davy. LDBC and nothing. Daniel Mitchell in the building. My brother's keeper. Let me see here. Your Point of View podcast. Salute. BXG3. What's happening with it? Craig L. Schoolboy, Mr. Richard Garcia. How you doing today, sir? We got Real Deal Detailing Shop. Sheldon, LDBC or nothing up in here. D-Man Jr. Stedman. King Robert. Salute to the homie Young World in the super chat showing love early. Coming through with the 10-piece. He says, salute, General. Salute to the chat. Man, much love to you, homie. You got Jamal Henderson. The homie Main Event Mark up in here. Nitty G. Let me see here. See if Felix Nunez. The Lindsay Way. Miami Stupid 305. Isaiah Young. Seattle Rick. King Vonnie. Southside Boxing 601 in the building. The homie Mike Biggs boxing up in here. Brandon Adam Perry. Cali Buzz. Malik Million. Set the tone. I can't even say your name. I don't know what that is. Something Summer. Cold Summer. Boxing Exposed X. Salute to everybody in the building. Yoga and Kenyatta Ali. What's happening with y'all? Hit that like button, y'all. We need 160-something likes in the building. Let's do that ASAP Rocky. Let's control what we can control. Hit the thumbs up. Let's do that. Yeah, man. All right. Everything is everything. So I had to have a little operation on my foot. I think that went good. Everything was smooth. No problemo. For those of you who care. What's up, Cruise Control? The homie Valkanist in the super chat. Showing love, much appreciation, Valkanist. Coming through with the 20-piece chicken nugget. Appreciate the support. What they did, they didn't change the color of the 20. They made the 20 the gold like the 10. Salute. Appreciate the support, fam. Love is the word. How you doing, lovely? Salute to lovely. Love is the word in the building. Keon Jackson, what's happening? Will do, brother. All right, so before we get into the Errol Spence stuff, before we really start cooking on that, I want to first talk about some other boxing news. So, what's up, Brown Sugar Tay Tay? The lovely Brown Sugar Tay Tay's in the building. Bear 24, what's happening? So, we had a situation to where the WBC has said, okay, since Devin Haney's going to 140 to fight Regis, Devin will be allowed to remain champion, but he will be called champion at recess because he's not defending his title at this moment. So he'll be called champion at recess, and then whatever they're going to do at lightweight to make somebody else fight for the fake championship. And then if Devin wants to come back and defend his title, he can do so, right? So that's what's happening. However, but the only good thing for Shakur is that's if Shakur even gets the title. The WBC has ruled that whoever wins the fake title, if Devin wants to defend his belt, then there has to be a 50-50 split. That's what they ruled, which really don't mean nothing. It really don't mean nothing. It's going to depend on the other sanctioning bodies if they decide to strip Devin Haney, because the thing is this. I'm going to say it again. I've never seen a guy win a title and then the next month, everybody's organizing to get the belts from him, to strip him or whatever. You know what I'm saying? I've never seen something like this in my life. Y'all ain't never seen it. You know what I'm saying? Even the people who calling for Devin Haney to be stripped, these people will shut up immediately as soon as you bring up Jamel Charlo. You say, hey, well, Jamel Charlo got all the belts at 154. He ain't fought Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu been waiting on the title shot forever, and he going up to fight Canelo in 2 other divisions, and he's still the champion. Oh, well, you know. See, they ain't gonna say nothing about it. But with Devin Haney, it's personal. This is how you know these dudes is haters. You see, when there's no consistency, that's when you know it's personal. You understand? So just remember that next time one of these dudes get to hating on Dev, talking about he need to be stripped, ask him why they're not calling for Jamel Charlo to be stripped. They won't ever say that because it's personal with Devin Haney. Now, anyway, people, the narrative that they're running with is Devin Haney has been stripped. He hasn't been stripped of the WBC title. He's champion at recess. Okay? You can't be stripped of a title and then still be called champion. It don't make sense. He's champion in recess. All right? Smash the like button, y'all. I don't know why it's so hard for people to hit the thumbs up. Hit the like button. What are we doing up in here? It just don't make no sense. Yeah, so Devin is champion in recess, just like many before him, Manny Pacquiao, Klitschko, so many others. Okay, so don't play this game. Oh no, Devin been stripped. Okay, if Devin been stripped, why is Shakur currently crying? Why is Shakur on the phone with everybody crying, talking about this ain't fair? If Devin been stripped, shouldn't Shakur be happy? Why is Shakur calling up everybody crying? Man, they love this dude, man. Man, they let this dude do whatever he want to do, man. They won't let me do nothing. You got what you wanted, Shakur. You're going to get a 50-50 split, supposedly, allegedly. Now all you got to do, Shakur, is go ahead and, pick up that title. Pick up that mandatory spot. Pick up that. You going to fight Loma? Who you going to fight? You going to have to fight somebody. You know? So anyway, let's get right down to it. Let's get right down to the smoke. So y'all know we've had some conversations this week. There was a YouTube channel that put up a YouTube channel that, by the way, that I didn't know was a LDBC hate channel. That these people got some issue with black people or something like that. I didn't even know that. But all these people sending me this video. Hey, you need to watch this, watch this. I mean, 300 some people that sent me this video on Instagram. emailed it to me. And he watch it. Watch what this doctor say. Watch what the doctor say. Ain't nobody said, hey, bro, this is this LGBTQ hate channel. Nobody said nothing. So I look at the video, finally do a response to it. Then I find out later that they some haters. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, they had a doctor on there, a guy who was claiming to be a doctor. Like I said in my video, he's claiming to be a doctor, and he's pointing out that he feels that Errol Spence has some neurological damage and things of that nature. And he started pointing out different things. You know, it's a little sketchy. You know, some of it is hard to argue with, though. Some of the stuff he said does make sense. But we're going to have today an actual doctor come on and talk about what he sees. But I guarantee you the reaction is going to be different because, see, this doctor's black. And, you know, when white folks speak, the whole world stop and listen. All the black folks in the world spread the video, share it. Hey, man, the doctor said this. The doctor, you don't even know if you're a doctor, but the doctor said this. Watch when this black doctor come on here. Watch how this video don't go viral. And watch how all these Negroes don't share the video. You watch. I know you like the back of my hand. I know you like the back of my hand. So somebody, all it takes is, you know what I'm saying? Somebody put a little, somebody put some little stuff by their name and put a jacket on. White guy put a jacket on, sit down, and he can be an expert in anything. Y'all gonna listen. Y'all gonna listen. Hey man, dude keeping it real. He keeping it 100. This doctor, he making sense. He can say he a lawyer. I remember a couple of years ago on YouTube, it was this guy who was a boxing fan running around telling people he was a lawyer. It was so embarrassing, man. It was so embarrassing, dude. This dude, first of all, I knew this dude wasn't a lawyer, right? I'm a hustler, okay? I'm from the streets. I've been around con men my whole life. This dude from over there in Ireland or something, somewhere in the UK. But he coming around all these channels talking about boxing and stuff. Everybody had him on their panel. So then I started getting these phone calls from these brothers. Brothers telling me, hey, man, it's this one cat on here, man. He like Irish dude, man. He a lawyer, man. He make big money. He like a millionaire or something, man. And hey, man, he's saying he want to invest in the LGBTQ and he want to do this and he want to do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, why he talking to y'all and not talking to me then? You know what I'm saying? See, I know when somebody trying to creep through the back door and you know, get people on their side. I get it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, he a millionaire lawyer. He want to invest in the LGBTQ and he on YouTube just talking boxing. Like, yeah, man, dude. You should have seen all these brothers kissing this dude rectum. It was all on here kissing this rectum. And I'm listening to the dude talk. He don't even talk like a lawyer. He don't even talk like an educated person. Right? He talked like one of the Tyson Fury crew. You know what I'm saying? Somebody from the slums. But he's supposed to be this big, high-powered attorney. So I'm laughing at this. I know it's not true. So all these brothers is believing this crap. Then it come out, this dude is just a troll, a hater. Right? And they all sick with it. They all salty. He ain't fool me, he fooled y'all. That's what y'all get for believing, you know what I'm saying? Believing that nonsense. I told y'all, I mean, people got slave mentalities, man. David Jackson in the super chat showing love, much appreciation, homie. He says, what's up, 78? I care about Spence health more than my entertainment. 12 KOs. Ugas was wobbling him. He says 154 fighters or Bud rematch is bad news. Okay, salute to you, homie. Appreciate the support, brother. Let's see what we got here. Boxing fan times 4 in the super chat. Appreciate the support. Coming through with the 5-piece. He says the BDA is LGBT haters. They're the ones that start referring to LGBT members as Wakandans. Yeah, and I see a lot of black dudes running around picking up that racist term, calling us Wakandans. Well, any black dude that use that term in reference to other black people, you already know what they do. You know what I'm saying? They like to play race play with them, you know, with their little boyfriends and stuff like that. Yes, master. Yes, master. I'm just a dirty slave, master. Yes, master. All that kind of stuff. You know, Wakanda should never come out of no black dude's mouth as a diss to another black dude. Tough Tough Glove Boxing, salute to you in the super chat. Appreciate the support. Let's see what we got here. BT1 in the super chat. Appreciate the support, fam. He says, I rock with EJ because he's Jamaican, but salute to Bud. Absolutely. Salute. Let's see here. Yeah, man. So my thing is this, man. I don't know what's going on with Errol. In fact, let me text the brother, see if he's ready to come on here. Bring him on here early. I don't know what. Okay, the brother, he just came on now. Okay, hold on. All right. Let me take this thing off the screen. Let me take this picture off the screen. Salute, brother Abdullah. How you doing? You on mute, bro. Abdullah, you on mute. Uh-oh. He having some difficulties. Let him come back in. He'll be back in a sec, y'all. My thing is this, man. I don't know what Errol got going. I don't know if he really does have some type of damage or if he don't. But I know that he wants this rematch, and if he wants the rematch, I'm gonna support him because throughout boxing history, we've seen guys go out here and fight and become damaged. Brother Abdullah, how you doing?
I'm fine, sir. It's good to have me on 78. Thank you so much, and sorry for those technical difficulties.
Oh, it's all good, man. Man, I appreciate you coming on, man. And man, you know you've been down for a while, man. Can you introduce yourself to the people and tell the people your credentials, sir?
Of course. I'm Abdullah Hassan Pratt. I'm an emergency room physician, assistant professor of emergency medicine at one of the busiest trauma centers in America here on Chicago South Side. I'm also a USA Boxing ringside physician as well, because I believe that, just like many of you all, that youth sports, especially contact sports, are an avenue to reduce violence. And I'm one of those people that grew up right here on Chicago Southeast Side, these same communities you all see the big rappers come from. And I stay right here to do a lot of my work. And boxing is one of those intersections. And so I truly love to try to promote these sports, but we got to make them safer. And so I put, my own time. I run organizations to get other young doctors involved in making these sports safer, whether that's youth football, boxing, etc., so that they can be more of a stable source of violence prevention and overall wellness for our youth.
Yes, sir, man. This brother here's a real deal. I appreciate you, brother, for joining me today to talk about this. Let me read these super chats real quick.
Yes, sir.
B Mac. My bad, man. B Mac in the super chat. Appreciate the support. He says, salute, General 78. Is the Cash App the same? Yes, it's going across the bottom of the screen, man. Money sign 78 Sports. Yep, it's going across the bottom of the screen, homie. Easy work. All right, let me see here. We got another one here. M. Perret in the super chat showing love, much appreciation. He says, sitting back on my birthday, listening to 78 share the truth. They should get a doctor to talk about the Liams and Callums. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Natube, I think that's how you say your name. Salute to you in super chat. It says, Mr. Dr. 805 ain't even a doctor. If you listen, he said he's whatever that is. He's not in that field. He says, which could mean he just a home health aide wiping old folks. Oh wow. Yeah, well, it is what it is. D-Town Doo-Wop in the super chat. Appreciate the support. He says, I hate random white man speaks well, and all of a sudden a doctor, dentist, an astronaut, no proof. EJ made no excuses, but fans are. But better, it's okay. Yeah, I agree with that, brother. All right, let me see here in the Cash App. Salute to HM. Salute to B Mac in the Cash App. Appreciate the support, fam. Coming through with the 25 piece. Appreciate the support, man. B Mac. Salute to my brother Cadillac Red in the Cash App. He says, salute to the, what do you say? Salute to the 9-toe gangster. Oh, you making fun of my foot. That's how you gonna do me? I still got my toes, man. What you talking about? All right, so let's get down to it, brother. Brother Abdullah. Okay, so did you get a chance to listen to the statements made by the alleged doctor about Errol Spence?
Oh yes, sir. I most certainly did. We did our homework, of course, when it popped up. It drew my interest, and so hearing it, of course, I was disturbed. Just as you said, more disturbed with how it went viral. And it does a disservice to, most importantly, Errol. If he was the patient in this situation, people speculating on his overall health. I get it. It's natural. We all have our concern. We think he's family. He's been like family to many of us in the boxing community. But it does a big disservice to him and to, Bud Crawford, who we also support. And so both of those things were disturbing, especially because we have such little information to go
on. Absolutely. Absolutely. So what did you think of his statements of what he's seen, some neurological damage? Do you think it's possible to assess that just from watching a fight?
I think in extreme certain circumstances, you most certainly can assess it. So I think that if you're seeing someone and they just walk into the ring or having issues and they're neurologically compromised, I think so. But we rarely see that. We rarely see someone be able to pass the test that you need to, the pre-fight physicals, the scrutinizing from your own physicians, and then of course even your friends and loved ones, to be able to get in there under that condition. So many times when we're talking about whether a fighter has brain damage, our concern is usually something that's in the future. And that's one thing I would employ to people is that, you're thinking of, okay, is what he's going through now going to impact him to have what we call, chronic traumatic encephalopathy or CTE in the future? In the signs that most fighters or football players, rugby players, hockey players are going to have are not going to be outward. They're such great athletes. They're not going to really be able to show deterioration. Most of what we think is deterioration is usually age, circumstance, not preparing well in certain situations. But what you're really going to diagnose people like, any fighter on is going to be what they tell you, what we call subjective information. So is he having headaches? Is he telling his family, his doctors, his friends, hey, I'm feeling a little foggy. It's hard for me to remember what happened yesterday or the day before that. And then that may ultimately result in different things. But to be able to say the ring walk, him walking down the ring and his wife prompted him and saying that, hey, he looks like he's high off marijuana, and he walked to the ring, that's not a clinical assessment. And even furthermore, I think one of your super chats said that, he's a gerontologist. So at best, if he's, board certified gerontologist, his expertise is in elderly people, and that's where he sees dementia. Now, me as an emergency room physician, I'll preface this by saying that emergency medicine encompasses all of the different medicines, except they just add emergency points. So gerontology is a big part of what I do, because I'm the one that, if your grandmother, your mother, whoever you send in is messed up, I'm seeing them first, and I have to make these decisions based on what he's speculating about. I have to make those decisions right in the moment, or I could miss them being ultimately dehydrated or having a urinary tract infection or a fall or something. And that's what I think that the issue is, that he's comparing a prime athlete in Errol Spence, which isn't an expertise of his, to elderly people. And what he's subtly saying, like balance, those kind of things. Of course, if Errol gets hit in boxing, someone's balance is going to be off. But the more likely cause of that is what Bud Crawford said after the fight. He's targeting the ear, the middle ear. That controls balance. That's different than the brain. That's completely different than you getting hit in the chin and you being unconscious on your feet. Right. And your balance being off. So there's a bunch of different things in there that I think we can go through and talk about. But I do understand concern, though. I do want to say that's a different conversation than saying, hey, I have concern. I saw someone get injured, like, Champside's video on Minister Farrakhan, and saying, hey, I lost sleep over seeing my brother injured. Those are two completely different things versus saying, is there medical signs that he's affected?
Right. And, something interesting is, like you say, Crawford said he targeted the ear. like you say, that which affects your equilibrium and all that. Same thing Tyson Fury did to Deontay Wilder. He targeted that left side of his temple and ear, okay, which they accused him of having a busted eardrum and all of that, which had Wilder discombobulated. And after the fight, remember what they said? They said Wilder should retire. They said Wilder he's damaged. He's not to be the same. He's delusional. He has mental health issues. They said all kind of stuff. Same stuff they're saying about Spence now, and they just want these guys out of boxing, in my opinion. For some strange reasons. Shaquan in the super chat with the 10p chicken nugget. Appreciate the support. He says, salute, General. Excellent move bringing a scientist from our community who knows us better than us. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay. So, Brother Abdullah, what would you say going forward? Is it possible for you to give your opinion going forward? Say, if Errol Spence, he wants to fight Terrence Crawford again in December, is that do you think that's a healthy move, or should he wait? Should he take a tune-up? Should he get some studies done? What do you think?
Well, I think all of those are probably on the table for him and his team. Knowing fighters, the way I do, especially even here on the amateur level, this is a kind of a month by month situation, usually early on. So usually there's a time after TKO or knockout, usually, anywhere from 60 to 90 days, a baseline that you got to sit down for. And during that period of time that you're sitting down, of course, you're going to your regular checkups. But then, you're making this decision with your team on what's best for you in that situation. And ultimately, it's going to be what he attributes the loss to. If he feels like it was because of what I heard, like Virgil Hunter's video earlier talking about, hey, this was a historic heat wave in both Texas and Vegas. And those are two different types of heat. And that may play a part. I think as a sports doc, as myself, I think that could definitely play a part. But like Errol said, he's not making excuses. So he's actually not giving us much in terms of what he attributes it to. He talked about timing. So if he wants to perfect timing, then maybe a tune-up would be right for him. But I don't think that from a medical point of view, we see a tune-up versus a tough fight like Crawford any different, than each other. If he's going to step back in the ring, for those of us who are physicians who deal with athletes, we have to make sure that they're ready for anything, that there's nothing that's going to hold them back, that they're exhibiting no signs of this. And that's why trust is important. That's why you all don't hear Errol's personal doctor on talking about this kind of stuff. Because in order to maintain that trust with your athlete, they got to know that they can tell you something in confidence. And to some of you all suspicion, just the flip sides, there is a professional aspect of this that's different than amateur. So the way that you deal with an NFL player, a physician, is different than you deal with an amateur, and money and all that does play a role, but not because of us as physicians or care providers, but it plays a role in the athlete. So the athlete takes into consideration, just like many of us take risks every day, doing what we got to do for our families. When you talk to them as a person, this whole PC world of, hey man, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. But if they're looking at life, sometimes they're looking at like, yo, doc, if you're telling me this is going to shorten my life by 5 or 6 years, then, you know what I'm saying? Hey, maybe not, maybe give me the real odds. And sometimes we can't do that for them. And we say, listen, we have to make sure you're safe, but they be willing to take those risks. And that's why it's important to have a team. That's why, the one thing that does give me confidence in this is that Errol is, the champion of PBC, right? He's under Al Heyman, and everything we've heard about Al from people who do business with him is that he tries to take care of people. He tries to protect people from themselves, whether that's Drake or Beyonce or Michael Jackson back in the day, or whether that's Floyd Mayweather, Vernon Forrest, and now ultimately Errol Spence. I think that if any place that he would have been in boxing, I have at least the confidence that Al Heyman would not sacrifice Errol Spence, someone he's built so much and worries about as a human being, for some small change to Al Heyman or to any of those staff. So that would be my one hope going forward. But I think it's going to be a minute by minute. They may not know right now. Their physicians may not know right now. All of that is to be determined as they reassess him going on, likely.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and my thing is this too. Like, I'm shocked that I'm shocked that this generation now, all of a sudden, boxing, every time somebody takes a beating, it's oh man, he got retired. Oh man, that beating is too much. Like, first of all, dude, look, if that was a beating that's too much to handle, too much to see, then they're gonna have to ban boxing.
Yeah.
Because I've seen far worse beatings than that. Yes, Earl got beat. He got beat up. But I've seen far worse beatings than that throughout boxing history. So for this fake outrage to be going on is absolutely ridiculous. All right. Mickey Ward and Arturo Gatti beat the mess out of each other 3 fights. And everybody cheered. Not one person said, Arturo Gatti, he needs to sit down somewhere. He needs to retire. This dude, he ain't got no defense. He's just getting hit upside his head. Errol Spence lose 1 fight to Terrence Crawford now. Crawford. And he needs to retire. This smells like another agenda here.
Yeah. And then, like, a lot of it is because, I think one of the things the doctors were also saying, oh, he's bleeding and he wasn't, was his face swollen, all of these things like that. For those of you all who are wondering, the reason why Errol Spence, the fight looked as bad to many of us as it did is because Errol actually fights, number one, he was fighting against Terrence Bud Crawford, who may be the current Sugar Ray Robinson, right? When you look at his style and how he's able to precisely hit with power, even on power jabs, I think that you have to start having that conversation. So he's really in there with that one, with him. Number 2 is he actually fought Terrence Bud Crawford the way that most fighters claim that they go in there to fight, is that they're going in there as warriors. I'm leaving them, and they're all on my shield. Errol did that. He listened to his coach. He tried to implement things. He never backed down, and he didn't face plant and fall asleep. He didn't take a knee or any of those things that normally would prevent a fighter from getting to that point. But understand, if any of these other fighters that Terrence Crawford had fought before this point had been able to survive long enough from the first 2 shots or the first knockdown or what happened to Kell Brook long enough, and if they had kept fighting like warriors the way Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder and some of our other champs that we love so much have, they would have all looked like that, if not worse. And that's even if they could have gotten back up. Right. Errol didn't show wobbliness. He showed a couple of stumbles, but he never showed that he was out on his feet. He never showed that he was unconscious like Tyson Fury with his eyes closed. To me, as a physician, that's far more concerning when you're out, when you're completely out and you're disconnected from your senses. That's when a fight needs to really stop. And I think the stoppage was a good stoppage, but I think that I never saw brain damage in terms of lights out occurring for Errol like I've seen for so many other fighters who did not have this same outcry about them. But there is also genuine outcry there. I think that's those of us who love him. We just want to see how the doctors weigh in it, how he and his team goes. And we trust that Errol, he's been honest with us throughout everything. I think that's why we love him so much, is that he has been straightforward. And I think that as that process goes, we'll see. And so far, so good. He said all the right things. He's not making excuses. He's with his family. He's taking that time. So far, we have no reason to show terrible concern other than just feeling the suffering that he has to go through both pride-wise and physically.
Yes, sir. Edwin Bowles in the super chat. Appreciate the support coming through with the 10-piece, man. He says, I love the information. At the end of the day, all I am concerned with is making sure Spence is okay in the long run. As a caretaker to someone with brain issues, I know brain health is tricky. Salute to you. Omaha Red in the super chat coming through with the 5-piece. Appreciate the support. So I appreciate you having a credentialed black specialist on. All this is crazy to me, though. He says, none of this after Ugas fight, all taken away from Bud. Well, it's another agenda here at play, man. You got to remember, it's people, the people who are doing this are not really Terrence Crawford fans anyway. What's up, my brother Drew Titan in the building, LLC? They're not really Terrence Crawford fans, and they're not Errol Spence fans. These are people who want both of them out of here. Both of them, listen, they be saying the same thing about Crawford. If Crawford would have got beat up on. Let me see here. My brother I Am True Will in the super chat. Appreciate the support. My brother coming through with the 5-piece. He says, thank you for bringing the actual doc on versus the clown bringing the CNA claiming to be a neurologist. Says, I hope this goes as viral as that. It won't go as viral because black people not going to take this and share it all over the world like they did the other one. They're not. I guarantee you. I'll be shocked. Prove me wrong, but they're not going to. I'm telling you right now. I know my people, bro. David Jackson in the super chat. Appreciate the support. Coming through with the 5-piece. He says, hi, Dr. Pratt. As a subject matter expert, how would you assess Earl's motor skills, communication, attentiveness over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great question. That was one other point that I've seen out here is these comparison videos. I think of Errol Spence, like maybe on ESPN, way a long time ago, and him now. And I think that the one thing that the gerontologist did say is that, he does have dentures and bridges. So just talking and how he speaks, I think that definitely affects things. I think Boyce Watkins online I remember people talking about he has some new fronts, and that changed the way he talked from before and after that. The other thing is that Errol has had facial surgeries as well. So I know he talked about that a little bit, is that after the accident, they had to do some reconstruction of the face. And I don't know how much of that involved the lips and how that affected things. Now, separate issue is how he talks in terms of not the enunciation, but actually his articulation and his thought process. I don't think I've seen any fall off in that. And I think the one thing that I would say has been disingenuous has been showing clips of him arguing back and forth or really heated as a young man, and then showing then a comparison clip to him a month ago chilling with his family on Facebook Live or something like that. When I compare apples to apples, when he was going back and forth with Terrence Crawford at the press conferences, he was being witty. He wasn't saying things that was rehearsed. He was speaking, in a normal cadence where, we all heard him and understood him very, very clearly. And it was passionate. It was what he thought. And that's different for those of you all at home if you compare that to Ali. When Ali was in the late 70s, he was trying to go back and forth at press conferences and stuff. He just couldn't. He's always, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill him. That's completely different than 1961, 1962 Ali, I'm a bad man guy. And I think that would have been like that's a cause for pause for Ali. I haven't seen that. And the last question he asked was fine motor skills. I think that's difficult to assess on TV. Even in person, I don't even know if Derek James or any of them would be able to see it because he's a high level athlete. And so things like fine motor skills don't really degrade in your 30s when you're talking about whether a boxer or a football player or anyone else has CTE. They're able to do things probably better than they were then. And remember, even on a mental level, athletes are high level mentally, whether it's Errol or, Deontay Wilder, Gervonta St. Davis, Floyd Mayweather, they're probably would outperform most of us on cognitive tests too. So that means like recall, memory. So like if you gave them something and you were like, hey, the combination is 4-5-4, and then you told them a sentence and then you came back, what was that combination? That's what we do in these concussion tests sometimes. We're asking them to remember shapes and all of these things. We can't compare an athlete to regular people most times because they'd outperform us, even when he had a concussion. So you have to compare him to himself. And I'm sure that in his assessments, he's had pre-assessments his entire career that would show these high level technical differences between how he performs now and then. And so again, the concern is not now, it's the future. And like you said, 78, that's the concern for all of boxing. And we know that boxing is going to cause these issues, right? This is all a window of time. Like, Andre Ward has tried to do. How many, we're not all saying, hey, Andre Ward is the model. Boxing hasn't put him on a pedestal and said, hey, we want to create retirement plans, 401ks, or some type of pensions to keep boxers safe, to take a little of this money. We're not using the belt money and the sanctioning money to do those different things. And I think that's where, if we really have that concern, that's where we have to go, is to say, clean up boxing. We can't have cheating in boxing. That's number one. So at the amateur level, we're very tight on everything. Everything's very, very regulated. Then at the pro levels, it all gets loose. So let's make sure we highly regulate to make sure that we're not having, glove wrap scandals or any of those kind of things, and cleaning that up. And then we start looking at making sure we have incentives the way Al Heyman has tried to do. We heard he did it with Adrian Broner and so many others, where he's basically creating retirement plans for them, saying, hey, I'm only going to let you spend so much of your money because I don't want money being the reason why you stay in boxing way too long. We need to keep incentivizing boxers to do that. And then ultimately we have to surround boxers with trusted physicians and healthcare professionals. And I don't know if they have a lot of those at their disposal, even with millions and millions of dollars. We see with like a Michael Jackson, you can have a doctor that basically kills you in your sleep, that doesn't know what they're doing, even though you're one of the richest people in the world. And there are probably a bunch of doctors that could treat you a billion times better, but you may not always be connected to them. But good question. I really appreciate that question.
Yes, indeed. My brother Drew Titan, LLC, in the super chat. Appreciate the support, Drew. He says, make this part go viral, family. Absolutely. Absolutely. Make sure y'all share this joint, man. Champagne Marlowe in the super chat, coming through with the 5-piece. Appreciate the support, brother. He says, I believe Spence was a very weight drain. That's why looked so weak, and his punches didn't affect Crawford. Well, I was shocked that he he didn't look bigger than Crawford when he got in the ring. He didn't look like he rehydrated up to his normal weight. Well, that's just what I'm seeing visually. I don't know if that's true. But Crawford definitely looked bigger and definitely looked stronger. But regardless of the fact, I think it's better for everybody to come to the acceptance that Errol got beat up by Terrence Crawford. I think if everybody come to that acceptance, we'll be better off, and we can move on. And then, we still Spence fans still gonna support him his next fight. We still got his back. You know what I mean? All that good stuff. It don't make you less of a man to just say he lost. You know what I mean? We don't have to keep this thing going, looking for answers and what this, what that. It's going to be stuff that Errol knows and his team knows that we never going to know. You know what I'm saying? Nobody has a perfect training camp, but then sometimes stuff happens in training camp, and he in a position. Okay, listen. All right, so I heard that Errol Spence didn't spar for 6 weeks because he had a rib injury. Okay, now he couldn't pull out the fight. If Errol Spence pulls out of this fight, everybody calls him a duck. Y'all know that. Neither one of them was going to pull out of this fight. Not Crawford. If Crawford had a broken foot, he wasn't pulling out of this fight. This fight took 5 years to make. Everybody's talking. People don't even believe it's going to happen until they get in the ring. Ain't nobody finna pull out of this fight. So that's why I don't blame Earl for wanting the rematch. Because if he feel like, look, I'm going to come back, let them dudes get paid. Let them get their money, man. And if he can bring something new, something different, a different look to the rematch, I'm all for it, man. Boxing Fan ×4 in the super chat. Appreciate the support. He says, could the way he lost those last pounds have effect? Dr. Pratt.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if I think that and that previous question about dehydration, I think that is one thing to consider, is that all of these signs, I think the doc talked about glazed eyes and all of that other kind of stuff that we were seeing. All of those are all mimicked by something much more common in elderly or young people, which is extreme dehydration. And I did see that look on Errol's face walking in, and my first thought was dehydration. And I thought about how hot it was. And I thought about what happened to Frank Martin as well, is that, he said the exact same thing, is that he felt like his reaction time's off, his timing was off. And I was just thinking, like, yo, man, that heat is real. And I get it. You might be used to growing up in that heat in the normal Texas spring and summer. But if this is astronomically high Texas heat in summer, and then Vegas is even hotter and it's drier, that actually prevents you from rehydrating the way you need to in that one day. And I think that, boxing should consider going to like a 1 week out weigh-in and rehydration up, within a certain limit, but this whole kind of quick rehydration is bad for the brain, because the brain is one of the last places to really rejuvenate that fluid. And that will stop your reaction time. That will make you feel slower the way maybe Wilder has felt before, others have felt. But especially in this fight, losing that weight and him being at 147 so long, as a man grows, your testosterone levels change, the type of testosterone changes, the type of muscle fibers that you have changes, which naturally leads to becoming heavier over time, even if you're losing body fat, right? And I think that the fact that he's been able to stay there since the amateurs is, for this fight. And again, this is, boxing, as a sport, these are things we, the one thing I thought leaving that fight is, could we have seen this so much earlier? And I get it, more money, but they probably would have gone on to make more money. And then now you get rid of these excuses. You don't have as many of the excuses. And so shout out to Errol for feeling like he's grown up old school that way. The weight could definitely affect it, but he's cut that weight before. And so then you have to ask, okay, Errol was confident after after all these other fights going into that fight. So still give Bud his credit, because Errol stepped in there, at least from our stuff going out on the outside looking in, with confidence, conceding different things. He wouldn't have conceded all that he conceded if he wasn't confident that he thought he was going to go in there and win. So at the end of the day, even Errol thought he was walking in there to win that fight, at least from everything that we thought. So give Bud his credit on that. But yes, from a sports doc, if I was with him, I would have been like, yo, your hydration is something that I'm concerned about. Your weight is something I'm concerned about. Are you okay? Are you doing fine from that point of view? And even from the docs early on, I think they stopped it a little bit early. I don't know what they were looking at earlier on, but they may have been seeing some of that like he looked a little drained or he looked a little slow, something like that. But, I didn't see it from the outside looking in.
Right. Mike Jones in the super chat. Appreciate the support. He says, does the doctor think Earl was on painkillers?
Yeah, no way to tell. No way to tell what any of these boxers are going through, man. Most high level athletes on painkillers. I'm gonna just be honest with you. It's just what type. I think when we say painkillers, we assume that we're talking about narcotics. So the ones that are opioid derivatives, whether that's fentanyl, morphine, Dilaudid, oxys, Vicodins, all of those kind of things. And usually they're not, especially a high performance athlete, unless they're like in the active process of an acute injury. So you're thinking of like your NFL players who are always having to force through, they only get a week in between. But a boxer going into the fight, you would hope that they're not having some injury bad enough to be on those type of painkillers, because usually you can treat the acute injury. So if they got fluid in the joint, you can aspirate the fluid, pull it out. If they need an injection of steroids or painkillers, you can do that to try to avoid them having something that's going to depress them systemically and have them sleepy or drowsier. I would not, as a doctor, even allow a fighter to take anything like that before fight, because now they can't protect themselves at all times. Now their reaction time is going to be slower. So only Errol, and his team would know that. But I would highly doubt that he was on some type of heavy pain meds like that. Maybe anti-inflammatories and steroids, but not steroids like performance enhancers, but
right,
like
not anabolic steroids.
Not anabolic steroids, but maybe like an anti-inflammatory shot or something like that.
Right. Salute to the lovely Queen 71 in the super chat, showing love. Appreciate you, Queen. She says the doctor is correct. Even when diagnosing TBI soldiers, we compare them to themselves, something that a clown watching a bunch of videos can't do.
Facts. That's big facts. And I think all of us know that. Again, this is why the technical part, I get it, things go viral and they were right at the right time. But I think even the doctor admitted on that thing, maybe with the disingenuous, I don't know. But he admitted, like, no, I'm a gerontologist. I was on it early and we're talking about steroids. He was a steroids expert first. Now he's a head injury expert. And I think he's an expert in a field where we don't have a lot of expertise. So he's able to fill that space. But I think the credit to you is that you all have always tried to bring on the different experts, within this community, and haven't been afraid of that information. And so just as we're doing right now, to be able to set the record straight and say, let's look at this objectively. If you go on the facts and only the facts, right? That's all that we can really do in that situation. Yeah, behind the scenes, this is minute things, you all. Like the difference between an expert in head injuries, like even myself, I'm not a neurosurgeon who would say I'm the foremost expert on chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I'm not that person, right? I'm the ER doctor seeing you very early and on the ringside to make sure you don't die, or that, I get you to the hospital fast enough and that we take care of you. But even them, they're making hairline decisions of differences between them and, say, another doc who's not considered the expert. So this will never be something that someone sitting back at home is usually going to be able to see without them also knowing that, and everybody else conspiring. Like I would say maybe in a Muhammad Ali situation where everybody behind the scenes knew what was going on, then everybody in front of the scenes knew what was going on. And Ali was pushing that, and he had been warned years before by Elijah Muhammad, before he ever had any symptoms. When he first won the heavyweight championship, get out of boxing. So I think, like you said earlier, we know boxing is dangerous. It's just, what are we doing to protect the game and the sport if we want to have it around more, if there's value in it? Because if not, then it allows for all of this speculation afterwards, which takes away from the amazingness of someone like Terrence Crawford and the warriorship of an Errol Spence to have kept fighting and kept fighting. Like he wasn't in there not knowing what he was doing. He was talking back and forth to Derek James in the corner, trying to tell him what he saw and what was going on and different things like that. So that's just boxing, you all. And we see it. If you watch enough boxing, you'll see this when you see a real warrior. And that's why using those words lightly isn't the best of things. But yeah, I can't even tell you all exactly everything, because I'm not there with Errol to ask him those questions, to really be there and say, well, tell me how you feeling. How are you doing compared to last fight? Have you ever felt like this before? Is this something that was different this fight versus last fight, and maybe even pre-car accident? Like, how were you before the car accident versus after? Because that one car accident, from what we know, did not yield any actual evidence of brain injury on his scans, at least from what they released. So that means that at the most, he just had a severe concussion, and that's called a mild traumatic brain injury, just like the sister said, Queen 71. A true traumatic brain injury, so a TBI, a traumatic brain injury, is when you have evidence of damage to the brain from a head injury of some sort, which is a step way above a concussion. So that's a brain bleed. You can have axonal injury, which is where you see a little bit of changes to the structures. You can have brain swelling. None of that we were told that happened to Errol Spence. It sounds like he was lucky that his face took most of the brunt, and the face is very hollow, it's airfield. And so in many car accidents and traumatic situations, the face will actually crunch like a crunch zone of a car, and that gets broken up a little bit, and that spares the brain cavity a little bit from those G forces. And it sounds like that's what happened with him. But other than that, we can't really speculate on much else other than just hoping and praying that he's got the right system around him and us trying to work to change boxing for the betterment of these fighters if we really care about them so much.
Yes, indeed. My brother Drew Titan. I can't put it on the screen, Drew, because of that word you put up there. They ain't gonna let me monetize it. You know, YouTube got me on probation. He said it was crazy hot in Vegas. He says went from African American to straight African this week. I hear you, man. It's hot out there, huh? E in the super chat, appreciate the support. He says, why can't we just look at the fact that Crawford was well prepared and a well-rounded fighter? You guys are acting as if an icon passed away. Stop. No, sir, I think you're acting as if you can't comprehend English, because what we're doing is responding to a narrative that was put out by an alleged doctor about the health of Errol Spence. Now, everybody here knows that except for you. You know what I'm saying? You need to go to another channel if you're prepared to, get your Vaseline and all that stuff if you want to have another type of conversation. Let me see here. Let's see what we got here. And let me read this. Okay, here we go. A1 Hoop Zone in the super chat coming through with the 20-piece chicken nugget. Appreciate the support, fam. He says, salute to the brothers giving this breakdown and real talk. Had to put some color in this MF. He says, it's still hashtag big fish strap season over here. Salute to Team Bud. It's a hell of a game plan and performance executed to perfection. Congrats. Yeah. Yes, sir. I agree. Definitely agree. All right, let me see here.
Yeah, in 70, I'll say another thing on the physics of it. But, to that point, he was so precise with his punches that, his punches weren't like big thudding knockout punches. He was hitting Errol with such great timing that it was actually throwing him off balance. Like it was actually catching him when he would be off balance anyway. And I think that genius, but too leads to a lot of his knockdown. So unlike maybe a Deontay Wilder type knockdown where it don't matter what position your body in, once you get touched, you out. A lot of those, Terrence Crawford shots like to the, side of the neck were catching Errol at certain times where he was going down, which actually allowed him to get back up so many times and keep fighting as well. So I think people should take into consideration, that level of boxing we don't see often, and we definitely don't see people who fight through that, because that can be a scary thing to know somebody's hitting you, they timing you, they catching you when you're not expecting to be caught, they punch you in between punches, and then to not just fold up, shell up, and quit on a stool or something like that, which is what you see most fighters do. So just to explain a little bit more why I saw that's what I'd be saying if I was ringside looking at Errol. I'm like, well, this kid, his resolve is going to keep him, fighting through, hoping for something big to happen or pushing forward. And unfortunately it didn't, but his face ended up taking most of that, which looks more gruesome. Again, to me, that's not as shocking as someone getting pressed on a button a couple of times in a fight. That's a completely different situation where I am more concerned about how he's thinking afterwards. They're confused after the fight. They're going straight to the locker room, straight to the hospital, and all of that for CAT scans and MRIs. From what I understand, that wasn't the case in Errol's case.
Yes, indeed. Omaha Red back in the super chat with the 2-piece. Appreciate the support, man. He says, y'all saw Bud at the presser. He was dehydrated too. Salute to you, man. Let me see here. Let me read this cash app. We had 1 second here. Let me get to my cash app. I'm sorry, y'all. Salute to Young World in the cash app. Appreciate the support, brother. He says, speedy recovery, General. Thank you, brother. Came through with $100 for me. Appreciate you, Young World. Always solid dude, man. Floyd, okay, no, that's different. Okay, salute. All right. So we got General Africa in the super chat. Appreciate the support, General. He says, the warrior spirit of Spence isn't celebrated. Salute. Well, I didn't want Crawford. Listen, man, this is why I did the video the other day. Everybody has given Crawford his props, especially on this channel. We're giving Crawford his props for a wonderful performance. Crawford did everything he was supposed to do. We gave this man all the shine in the world. Okay, but now you have people making accusations about the health of Errol Spence. That's not coming from Errol Spence. Okay, Errol Spence himself has not said none of this. He said he's fine. But other people have made accusations about his health and how he's not right. He needs to retire. So what we're doing is debunking that or trying to put some clarity from an actual doctor to give some clarity on the situation. So any Terrence Crawford fans who feel like this is somehow taken away from Bud or something, you're just paranoid, you're overly emotional, you need to relax. Okay? You won. You should be cool. You know what I'm saying? So now going forward, Dr. Pratt, going forward, if you had the power to change anything about the sport of boxing, what would you change?
I think that number one, you got to start putting more physicians and healthcare professionals in front of them from the time that they're younger, so that they're more honest with and that there's more trust, right? Like you have to have a space to go that's objective, where these doctors aren't controlled. There's a safe space that you can grow up being seen, so that people can keep track of how you do with any injuries over time. I think that's the best one, is have better relationships. And from what I can do as a physician, I think as a sport, once you get to the professional level, I think that we do have to look at the corruption in boxing that's money driven. I think it's clear as day to anyone that when you see, say, for instance, what happened to Deontay Wilder, it didn't matter. There were people who at our job, at the RER, who watched that fight, who never watched boxing before. And they said, hey, man, is that thing with the second count, is that like a thing that happens in boxing? Because that seems unsafe to fighters. Like, I wouldn't want, if my son was out there, I quit the fight. I'd be like, you know what, if we're not going to have fair judging, why am I putting my child at risk? So I think that those are the types of things that we have to really get out of boxing, is when we see obvious things. You can't, just because one side benefited from that, we can't then allow that to keep going. We have to just say, hey, you know what, we're going to clean up the sport, and that's going to have some effects, but we have to do it. Right now, there's no pressure to do it like there is in the NFL, because the sponsorships aren't tied in, where the bottom dollar for beer companies or Disney or something like that is going to be hurt by that. And then I think going forward from that point of view, being able to review these different instances in the past to say, hey, what worked, what didn't work from fighters? What did they need? What did they need to go on, so that they don't have to keep fighting? Like, at what point do they really feel like they could have been helped? And I think Andre Ward has been very vocal on that. I think because of Adrian Broner's problems and how they've been put out there, and shout out to AB, because I think that's a learning experience, because more of our youth resemble AB than they will probably and Andre Ward, you know what I'm saying, or something like that. So him coming from those communities and exposing how money can be mismanaged and how some people are trying to protect you in that situation, whether you see it or not, is also something that we're going to have to really revisit, which is, we had the Muhammad Ali Act, we had some of these different things, but clearly fighters are still being heavily incentivized to keep pushing further than when they need to, because the bulk of their money gets spent when they had it. So I think if you get those three things done, better, relationships with doctors from the beginning and making the sport safer overall, then of course, being able to hear from fighters on what keeps them, in the sport and what would be able to retire them on, and then ultimately cleaning up the corruption in boxing that's leading to fighters taking unnecessary risks, being hurt, and then we incentivize those that hurt them, to the point where people keep wanting to cheat and keep trying to find old new ways to cheat. I think all of those things would improve the health of these boxers, and would make a sport that we'd all feel comfortable with our sons and daughters participating in, so that they can get the good benefits of the sports, like good life skills, like being able to conflict resolve. I'm here in Chicago, you in North Milwaukee, these are areas that are being torn apart right now by violence. And we all know that many of these young kids, if you put them in a ring, they cower in the corner, and they actually going through boxing or football or mixed martial arts is actually the solution to them learning how to conflict resolve, so that when they're faced with a tough challenge, they have some skills on how to deal with that and walk away from that with their head held high without running to go get that gun. Because that's what I'm seeing in our trauma centers every day.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Well said, brother. King B83 in the super chat. Appreciate the support, man. Coming through with the 5-piece. Says salute to you, General. 78. Keep up the great content coming. And it's still team Man down. Respect to Bud. Absolutely. Absolutely. Todd French 600 in the super chat. Appreciate the support. He says, LOL, people are funny with this quitting stuff. Imagine if Sugar Ray said, the heck with it after Duran or Holyfield after Bo. Ridiculous. Yeah, well, the whole world has gotten a little soft, man. Whole world got a little soft. That's all. So people just like manhood, and it's just people use terms like toxic masculinity now. You know what I mean? So that tell you everything you need to know. Todd French 600 back in the super chat with the 5-piece. He says, Bud fans want EJ to quit, but they are the same people who said that I will come back and get their get back when they lose a fight. Hypocrites. Hashtag LDBC. Salute, fam. All right. Let's see here. All right. Well, Dr. Pratt, I want to thank you so much for your time. But for the people who came in late, can you tell the people who you are once again? Just introduce yourself. Give them your credentials.
Yes, sir. Thank you all for having me on. I'm Abdullah Hassan Pratt. I'm an emergency medicine physician at one of the busiest trauma centers here in, the America, but here on Chicago South Side. I'm also an assistant professor of medicine here. I run a number of community organizations that try to use youth sports and violence prevention programs to merge them into one to be able to really help rescue our youth. When everybody says, what about black on black crime? I'm trying to be one of the answers to that in my own community where I've lost my older brother, many of my closest friends to gun violence, but many of us love sports. Many of us love these things. So to me, it's professional. So I volunteer my time. I don't get paid, to do most of it, to actually support boxing as a ringside physician for USA Boxing, amateur boxing mostly. So I'm not just chasing some big fights. I'm going out there for young children who are at risk to violence and you name it, and putting the programs in front of them, and ultimately trying to create more doctors, nurses, paramedics in these spaces, because that's one reason why we don't have enough of people like myself and others, even some of you all in the chat. So that's me, you all, but I'm also, an avid listener of, not only the LDBC, but of course, Blue Blood and Champside and everybody else who's doing accurate, reporting on here, and having a fighter's best interest in heart. Everywhere you see our fighters at, I try to listen to, and that leads me to you all's pages. And it's truly been an honor to be on in the dialogue with you all. And I'm happy to come back at any time. If it's a hand injury to something else, feel free to hit my line with anything.
Yes, sir, bro. When the next time you come back to Milwaukee, bro?
Oh man, super soon, bro. Super soon. I'm probably gonna be there in the for National Youth National Safe Schools Week. So that's in October. So I'm gonna probably be hitting up a couple schools up in North Milwaukee to teach them how to deal with gunshot wounds, teach them how to conflict resolve, and let their voices coming from those communities like Hillside and some of the other projects that I've had the honor to be welcomed in, to make sure that their voices lead, because they're the future. If they don't change it for their own communities, they ain't gonna change. And you've been one of those biggest inspirations, for some of that, for those of y'all who don't know, 78 has always been known as being, 10 toes down, and not only Milwaukee, but also Chicago, and some of the big heads that I look up to, and, that came from my same streets, like the Carcinos and all of them, 78's been around. So he's truly like a big brother, not just on this YouTube platform, but even in the streets, you'll find people that can vouch for 78.
Hey, brother, I appreciate you, man. And thank you so much for your time, brother. And I'll definitely, get back with you, and I'll stay in contact. When you come back to Milwaukee, let me know, and so I can come through and try to throw my support any way I can.
Yes, sir. 10-4. Salute you all. Take care, everybody.
Salute to you, brother. Peace. All right, y'all. That was Dr. Abdullah Pratt. Had to bring him on just to get some clarity of the situation. You know what I'm saying? So I hope that you brothers, share this video like you shared the other one. I hope that you storm everybody's inbox, flood the inbox with this one like you did the other one. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Yeah, Dr. Pratt has been out here for a while putting in work, you know what I mean, in the Midwest and stuff like that. And, volunteering his time, trying to help the youth and things of that nature. So, you know what I mean? Make sure y'all support this interview, support him. And I'm definitely going to have him back on for other things as well. You know what I'm saying? But for y'all, feel free to take little clips of this interview and put them on your channel and do videos about it. Do all that stuff. Same stuff you did to the other one. Do this one that way. You dig? Let me see what Kelly Red say. Kelly Red, you still talking about my 9 toes, man? What you talking about, man? Let me see here. Yeah, see? It's the same one, Red. I read this one. I read this one already. All right, y'all. So much love, much appreciation. Y'all get ready to go check out the homie KQKC Boxing coming up next. I'll give it y'all in a minute, man. See y'all later. Deuces.